So you've got a SaaS business and perhaps you have some revenues. And now in 2024, you really want to accelerate your path to that next stage of growth. Here's the intention that I have for all the founders that watch this channel. For the SaaS businesses that I operate, I want to really dominate in 2024. I want to rise above the competition. I want to make sure this software solution that we are offering is in the hands of every single ideal customer that's out there. That's my intention, and maybe that's your intention as well. Here's the big question though. How do you actually revamp your go-to-market strategy for 2024, given everything that's going on right now, given the noise that's in the SaaS industry? How do you rise above? How do you revamp that plan and accelerate your path to that next stage of growth? That's the big question. In this episode, I'm going to walk you through the 3 steps that I'm following for my own SaaS businesses, for every SaaS founder that I coach, on exactly how to revamp your go-to-market strategy to accelerate your path to that next stage of growth. And when you follow these 3 steps, you'll know exactly what you need to do so that 2024 is the most epic year for your SaaS business. Intro. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Unstoppable. I'm TK, and on this channel, I help SaaS founders like you grow your SaaS businesses faster with an unstoppable strategy. Now, if you're new to this channel, welcome. I drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics from the trenches on how to grow your SaaS business faster. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon, that way you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode with the TK energy. Now, if you're already part of this community, if you're part of my SaaS go-to-market coaching programs, my people, welcome back. It's really awesome to see you over here. Having scaled and exited my last company, Toutap, which amassed over 100,000 users. Having sold that to Marketo, having worked at Marketo as the SVP of strategy, having helped with a 2-year turnaround that eventually took that business to that next stage of growth and then exited it to Adobe for $4.75 billion, having coached over 250 SaaS founders on their SaaS businesses, these are the 3 steps that I follow to revamp a go-to-market strategy. And these are the 3 steps that I'm going to be following, and every single founder that I work with will be following to actually accelerate our path to that next stage of growth for 2024. So you're excited to dig into step number 1, go ahead and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It just loves it when you do that. And let's dig right into it. All right, so step number 1, and this is something that is crucial to do, especially for 2024, especially when you're doing some sort of business planning, is to actually set a target. A lot of times, when I talk to founders and they're looking at working with me inside of my go-to-market program, one of the biggest questions that we ask is like, hey, we understand where you are right now, but let's talk about where you want to be 12 months from now. And a lot of people don't quite know the answer, or more importantly, sometimes they don't do the math around the answer. Let's say we want to be at $1 billion in ARR, and it's like, that's cool, but where do you really want to be 12 months from now? So one of the biggest things to do as you're thinking about your go-to-market strategy and thinking about the type of growth that you want and what you need to be able to achieve that is setting a target. Now, there's 2 targets here. The first one is a net new revenue target. So let's just say in this case, you want to generate $1 million of net new revenue for your SaaS business. So if you're at, say, 500K ARR right now, 12 months from now, you really want to be at 1.5 million in ARR. All of a sudden, that starts to get a little bit more tangible. One of the other things that I encourage founders to do is do some math. Well, if it's $1 million in net new business, do some math around exactly how many leads or how many opportunities you'll need based on the metrics in your go-to-market machine. But even starting with what's my revenue target and how many deals do I need or how many net new customers do I want for that is a great way to actually establish a baseline of exactly what you're looking to do next year. All of a sudden, this becomes a real exercise. Instead of saying, we want to grow as fast as possible, we want to dominate, we want to have the best year ever, which is so easy to do, and so many gurus promise you that, setting a real target, setting a real number, having that conversation with your co-founder and like, here's what we need to do, here's what it might cost, here are the pros and cons of it, is it possible, is it not, are we gonna sleep at night, really grounds the conversation. So step number 1 is to really set a target on exactly what you want to achieve over the next 12 months. Once you've done that, then the 2 critical pieces come in for your actual go-to-market plan and go-to-market strategy and go-to-market execution. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a while, one of the biggest things I talk about is differentiating between execution and strategy. So this is why I have step 2 and step 3, and I'll explain why that's important in a second, and then I'm gonna explain exactly what goes into those pieces. So the difference between strategy, which is step number 2, let me write this out, and execution, which is step number 3, is that most founders and most early stage teams jump to execution. They start writing content. They hire that fractional CMO who can't hold a real job and say, okay, we're gonna actually go redesign the website. And 8 months later, they don't have anything. Or they hire an agency who runs a ton of ads, burns up a lot of budget, but you don't have any pipeline. All of those things are things that you do. That's execution. But the difference between execution and strategy is how you go about doing those things, which is why whenever I'm working on a SaaS business, one of the biggest things that I've been taught by my mentors is before you jump to the execution, think about the strategy of how you're gonna do that first. If you're gonna write content, write out exactly how you're gonna do that. If you're gonna do outbound, exactly establish the strategy. If you are going to run ads, if you're going to post on LinkedIn, whatever it may be on the execution side, write out first the strategy on how you're gonna go about it, because there are different ways to execute on that. So let's dig a little bit more into step number 2, what that entails, and then we're gonna dig into step number 3. Step number 2 breaks down into 2 critical components. The first critical component is your ideal customer profile. Remember how I set a target? A lot of times founders are like, look, we are in a $2 billion space, we want all of them. I'm like, perfect, that's awesome. I hope that you get all of them eventually. By the time you're IPOing, after you IPO, you will probably be getting more of those people. You're not gonna get that total addressable market. But here's the thing, if you're at 500K ARR right now, and you wanna get to $1 million or $1.5 million in the next 12 months, what do those customers look like? What segment of that total addressable market do you want to be targeting? Why? This is where an ideal customer profile comes in. An ideal customer profile goes through 29 different points on exactly how you're going to define the specific kind of customer that's going to get you to that next stage of growth. A lot of founders skip this. Because they skip this, all the execution becomes diluted. Because they're like, yeah, we kind of know it's this like thing and it's a hand-wavy answer. They don't quite know what they're targeting. They don't quite know how they're gonna approach them. They don't quite know what the competitive dynamics are for that segment of the market, and they tend to lose. Which is why whenever I work with founders inside of my go-to-market program, we do a 29-point analysis on exactly what the ideal customer profile is gonna be to get to that next stage of growth. And as I continue to work with them over time, we keep expanding that ideal customer profile based on the revenue data that's coming in to understand where exactly we're going to expand into and why and how we're going to differentiate. And that's essentially part A of your strategy. Part B, which is equally important, is your manifesto. Now, a manifesto is a couple of different things. I work with founders to actually build out a manifesto. The end result of a manifesto is 7 to 10 slide PDF that actually explains a few things about your company. It explains your value proposition. It explains your strategic narrative. It explains your positioning. It explains your urgency. And we do it in a way where it's an actual intellectual thought exercise on exactly how we're going to compete in the market for this ideal customer profile. A lot of times people are like, hey, can you just take a look at my manifesto? It's 8 slides, and I think I can turn it into a lead magnet. I'm like, I can't take a look at it and tell you anything because the end result doesn't matter. It's the process in the way you actually create that manifesto is what really matters and brings clarity, and it defines the strategy of how you're gonna win in the market. Now, sure, the end result of a manifesto is you can turn it into a lead magnet and use it to generate leads. You can take parts of it and put it in your outbound process. You can take parts of it and turn it into an ad. All those things are true. However, the real power of building a manifesto and fleshing out your value proposition, your positioning, your strategic narrative, how you actually drive urgency in a process, how you differentiate from the #1 competition in the space, the process of going through that, where you end up with that manifesto, is what really defines your go-to-market strategy. When you're defining a go-to-market strategy and when you're defining a manifesto, there's a lot of talking involved. You can't do it in a vacuum. You got to talk about it with your co-founder. One of the things I've found whenever I work with founders and they're building their manifesto and defining their go-to-market strategy, the CTO gets involved, and then the roadmap gets clarified, which is wild to me, but super cool. The CTOs love this because they're like, oh my God, now we are speaking the same language and we can prioritize the right things because we know what we're selling instead of just 8 different features and we're just 1 feature away from that more revenue, which is never true. Those are the 2 big pieces that go into the strategy. Founders that skip this strategy piece end up start executing. And sometimes they outsource it. They don't even own it. So they hire that fractional CMO that can't get a real job. They hire that agency that runs $5, $10, $15, $25,000 of ads, trying to throw stuff at the wall, trying to figure out what sticks so they can iterate on it. And they want a 3-month minimum. And then you come away with nothing. And the reason is founders didn't embrace the strategy first, and you got to own it. founders that actually say, okay, what is our ICP? What's our manifesto? How do we differentiate in the market? The ones that go through this process come out stronger, and they're able to start executing, and they're also able to attract really great marketing talent into their teams. Because when they interview them, they say, oh, look, we've thought about this. Here's how we're approaching it, but we need help in the execution. We need help in up-leveling the strategy. Do you want to work with us? And all of a sudden, you can attract really great talent. So you can get the momentum going because you're owning it, and you can attract really great people, which is also really, really powerful. That's step number 2, where you really need to define the strategy. The 2 big things you want to focus on is your ideal customer profile and your manifesto, which is your positioning, your value prop, how you drive urgency, your competitive differentiation, all those pieces into this one cohesive document that really outlines your strategy and then can turn into a lead magnet that you can use to educate your customers. Then finally, you get into execution. This is how you actually really put it all into play. Now, before I go to number 3 and explain exactly how it works, let me just pause here for a second. Are you starting to see the power in this? One of the big reasons I love doing this, one of the reasons I love this channel, is because I've lived and breathed this for over 15 years, and it works every single time. And then I started working with clients to actually implement it, and it works every time for them as well. I can't count the number of clients that have come back and said, oh my God, just the exercise of ICP and manifesto got us all talking the same language and allowed us to actually get to product market fit and to scale. That's been one of the best things. So if you start to see the power of doing this, can I just get a yes in the comments below? And also smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It just loves it when you do that, and so do we. Put a lot of love into these videos. Also, if you're in that stage where you're figuring out your go-to-market strategy, you're figuring out that founder-led growth stage, you're figuring out how to actually execute on your strategy, you're figuring out what should our target revenue number be, how should an ICP work, or what should go into a manifesto, and how do we do the right process? This is exactly why I created my SaaS go-to-market coaching program, where I work with you one-on-one with founders like you to actually revamp your go-to-market strategy. You don't have to go anywhere right now. I'll tell you more about it at the end of this episode. I'll link to it below as well. Let me tell you about step number 3 of this entire process. Now, step number 3 is execution. But the way we go about execution is what we call a Broadway show. A Broadway show is a specific set of sales and marketing activities that you run every day, every week, every month. It's consistent. Now, here's the thing. A lot of times we find founders, we find early stage teams that did TikTok one day, did outbound the next day, did LinkedIn, and then went back to TikTok, and then ended up neither here nor there. And the biggest problem with that is they're constantly chasing fads. They're like, oh, like the website's broken, so let's do the website. 8 months later, they're like, oh, we gotta do TikTok. They do TikTok, nothing happens. Like, oh, let's do outbound. They do send 1,000 outbound emails, no one responds. They give up on that and go back to TikTok. And then they bring in a new fractional CMO, and all of a sudden they have to redo the website again because that's all they're good at. Now, that's where founders often go wrong. What you need to be doing is actually driving to consistency on a consistent set of channels and achieving mastery in those, or bringing on people into the team that can get you to mastery. But consistency is what matters the most. And the way I always look at running a Broadway show is we have a set of channels that you can go after depending on your ideal customer. And we choose the right channels depending on who your ideal customer is and figure out how to get your manifesto, your message, your differentiated way to actually educate them about what your solution does in front of the ICP on a consistent basis. And that's the power of a Broadway show. And the biggest thing for you to think about is what's the big channel we should focus on? What's the message, the manifesto that we need to get in front of them? And how do we do it consistently and get better and better and better at it? That's what you need to do. And that's the idea of a Broadway show. Broadway show is one really amazing show that gets better and better. And they don't just create a new play every single time. They go all over the world playing that same show over and over and over to new audiences. That's the idea of a Broadway show. And that's why we call it that. When you do these 3 things, let's recap. Number 1, set a revenue target. Don't do anything until you set a proper revenue target on what you want to accomplish in the next 12 months. Break it down to the number of customers that means for you. Then, before you jump to the execution, figure out your strategy. For your strategy, figure out your ideal customer profile and figure out your manifesto. Once you have that, then kick off a Broadway show. That's step number 3. That's your execution, where you consistently run a set of activities that brings your manifesto to your ideal customer profile on a consistent basis. Now, if you're the founder, your job is to get the ball rolling on this. As you start to build momentum, you'll get more leads, you'll get more pipeline, you'll get more revenues, and you can actually hire more people. If you're bootstrapped, you'll have more cash and profits to actually deploy to hiring more people. If you're VC backed, then you can actually go raise that next round, given the go-to-market machine that you've built, and you can attract more people and they can take over the Broadway show for you. That's the power in this. And those are the 3 steps that every single founder I'm working with is following to have the best year ever in 2024. And these are 3 steps I've followed for over 15 years in all the SaaS companies that I've been part of. Now you know exactly what you need to do to revamp your go-to-market strategy and have the best year ever for 2024. Now, what you may not know is, TK, I'm not quite sure how I should think about my target revenue number. Or you may not know, okay, we were doing a bunch of execution, it didn't work. We need to actually figure out our strategy. What's our ICP? It's not going to be a paragraph. It needs to be a proper exercise. Or more importantly, what's our manifesto? Like, what is our strategic narrative? What is our positioning? How do we really differentiate in the market? How do we communicate that to our ideal customers? What you may not know is, TK, how do we execute on this? How do I actually bring my manifesto to my ICP on a consistent basis without going crazy? How do I run a Broadway show? Now, this is exactly why I created my SaaS go-to-market coaching program. It's an incredible program where I work with you to actually make sure that you're able to follow a step-by-step process to revamp your go-to-market strategy, execute on it, and accelerate your path to that next stage of growth. Now, there's 3 key things we work on inside of this program. First, we flesh out your ideal customer profile. I have a very specific step-by-step process for this. It's incredibly efficient when you do it my way. And the reason for this, I've done this so many times, I know exactly the pieces you need to pull to actually get to clarity on what your ideal customer profile should be. Once you've done that, then we build out your manifesto. Your manifesto is your positioning, it's your messaging, it's your strategic narrative, all in this one and all-encompassing document that really educates your ideal customers on why they should pick you. It's an incredible exercise I take you through to make sure that you actually build a manifesto and you get clarity on exactly what you're doing in the market. Once you have those 2 pieces, you have your strategy. Then comes execution. That's your Broadway show. Your Broadway show is a consistent set of sales and marketing activities that you're gonna run to bring your manifesto to your ICP on a consistent basis. And that's what we do inside of the program. We work together to make sure that you're set up for success. It's an incredible program. So if you wanna work together, just go to tkcater.com/GTM. tkcater.com/GTM. And on that page, you'll get all the details about the program. If you wanna work together, you just have to fill out a form and get on a call with us. One of the things that I've learned in running this program for 3 years now is the better the fit, the better the results. Meaning, we wanna make sure that we can actually help you inside of the program. So we'll get on a call, we'll review where you are with the business, what your goals are. If it sounds like it's a fit, we'll be off to the races right away. We've shared so many success stories of folks that have gone through the program on this channel. It's an incredible program. It's my most favorite thing to do because we work with so many interesting B2B SaaS companies and founders. So if you wanna work together, just go to tkcater.com/GTM. Also, if you got value from this video, if you're watching till this point, and hopefully you did get value, please smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. If you have a fellow co-founder, if you have a fellow team member that would also get value from this video, please share this with them. It'll just mean the world to us. If you're part of a Slack group, a WhatsApp group, an email list, part of a community of other SaaS founders, please share this video with them. We want to help as many SaaS founders as possible to build incredible SaaS companies. Also, I drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics from the trenches on how to grow your SaaS business faster. So if you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button and that bell icon where you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode. And lastly, remember, everyone needs a strategy for their life and their business. When you are with us, yours is going to be unstoppable. I'm TK, and I'll see you in the next episode or inside my SaaS go-to-market coaching program. Take care, everybody.